Hated characters. Hated characters are nothing new in MLP, and depending on who you are, you may have different opinions on what character you dislike. But one character that didn't have it easy since her first appearance was Twist, and despite being a minor character, Twist would become a hated character for years to come. But despite the hate, Twist has one of the most heartwarming but unfair stories inside of the franchise. Hello everyone, my name is Sugarflake, and today let's talk about a pony that deserves so much better, but that sadly no one cared about. So, let's begin. But first, who is Twist? Well, Twist was a filly earth pony that first appeared in Call of Duty as Appleblom's only friend. She's a tan-coat filly with red hair and purple glasses and a cutie mark which represents two candy canes making a heart. Twist since her first appearance wasn't that much of a fan favorite, and despite the fact that she appeared in 8 out of the 9 seasons, she wouldn't get a lot of development in the show. And her only major appearance was in Call of Duty, but it's in this episode where we got to know a little bit about who Twist possibly was. Twist was one of the last foals in Ponyville School to receive her cutie mark, and because of this, she was bullied constantly by Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon. Other things that we know about her is that she's a very skilled candy maker and that she admires Twilight Sparkle. But basically that's all we will get to know about Twist in MLP, which wasn't a lot, but it was enough to get a good idea on who she was. And sadly she wouldn't get developed more than that, but why? Well, this was because of Twist's voice actress Alexandra Carter, as at the time she was moving from Vancouver, and sadly if she wouldn't have moved, maybe we would have seen more of Twist in the show. And the reason why I'm saying this is because in an interview she stated that when she was casted for the role of Twist, she found her time voicing the character incredibly fun, and that she would love to voice the character again at some point. Which is something that we sadly never got to see again, as the next time that Twist spoke, she wasn't voiced by Carter. And as a fun fact, Carter and Silver Spoon voice actress Shannon Chan Kent have been family friends since they were kids, which is ironic because of how their dynamic was in the episode. But Twist not only appeared in the show, as she would also make appearances in the comics, although in a more limited way, but she did have her moments. Like in Niner Rarity, where Appleblom tells Luna that she's as much of a member of Ponyville as other ponies like Twist, and Twist just responds with a hiya, which I find super cute. And the other one being in issue 10 of Friends Forever, where Iron Will scares Twist all because she can't decide on what to order.
How dare you?
But that's basically all we will get to know about Twist in MLP. While it wasn't a lot, it was enough for fans to get a good idea on who she was. So what did fans do? Well, that was pretty simple. Hate on Twist. Wait, what? So yeah, after Twist's first appearance she would instantly become a hated character, but why? What crimes against ponykind did this sweet pony commit? Well, abandon Appleblom.
Say that again?
Yeah, so the hate for Twist was because apparently a lot of fans felt that Twist abandoned Appleblom after she got her cutie mark, which if I'm honest, I never felt that Twist did this. But this wasn't the only reason why fans hated Twist, as other fans didn't like her because of her design, which a lot of people said that it was ugly, and also because they found her lisp annoying.
Aww, she's so precious. Want something sweet? I've got some peppermint sticks. I made them myself. Isn't my cutie mark swell? I've always loved making my own savory sweets, but it took me some time to discover that it was my super special talent.
So yeah, Twist didn't have it easy at this time, but believe it or not, Twist had it the worst even before the show aired. As in May 21st, 2010, Twist design was discussed when Lauren Faust was at Studio B, now DHX Media. This was because the studio didn't like the idea that Twist was different from other models, with her being taller, skinnier, and her nose being more bulbous than most other ponies. And Twist design would have been changed if it wasn't for Sabrina Alberghetti, which was the one in the crew fighting for Twist design to stay the way that it was. Which eventually it did, and ironically Twist design would later get used by one of the nurses in the episode Read It and Weep It, and also for young Bon Bon. And Twist's story would have ended here if it wasn't for the fans, and in a weird way, all this hate actually helped Twist, as some fans would run with this hate and made Twist into a meme to troll the people who hated her, and I love these memes. While some of them can be considered as a little much, especially nowadays, I can't deny that I still find a lot of them funny, like this one, or even this one, or my favorite one, Twag. And luckily, all this died down fairly quickly, and Twist became a more light character over the years, and even developing a small but loyal fanbase. With fans creating art, memes, theories, and she would even get some merch, like a brushable and a mini pony. But one of the things that fans did the most was giving Twist ships, and wow if Twist had a lot of ships, like a lot. Like a lot of a lot. Like please help. But one of the most popular ships that Twist had was Bab Seed, with this one being the most poetic because it was a ship of two of the most hated fillies from their seasons. And fans didn't stop there, as they would also make interesting theories and headcanons, like for example, who is Twist's mom? Which, believe it or not, it was something that was heavily debated back in the day, from some people speculating that it was the Cakes, to Bon Bon, to Moon Dancer, and for some reason, Tempest Shadow. And while it was never confirmed who Twist's mom was, the fandom has gravitated towards Candy Mane being the most plausible pony, as we see them together in more than one occasion, and as well as sharing some similarities in their designs. And that's not all, as you will also get theories, from her being a mad scientist to her faking her cutie mark for some reason, and even a headcanon about how Twist got her lisp, which was made by DJ Calcos back in the day. The headcanon goes like this: the reason why Twist has a lisp isn't because she was born with it, but rather because of her special talent. Her talent is making candy, specifically candy canes, and candy canes are made by melted sugar, which needs to be twisted by a machine. But because Twist does this on her own, we can assume that she doesn't have a machine to do it, and because she's an earth pony, Twist needs to use her mouth to mold the red stripe around the cane properly. Which means that the reason why Twist has a lisp is because she's burning her mouth constantly when she's making her candy, and in consequence altering the way that she sounds. This headcanon was incredibly interesting at the time that it came out, not only because it gave us an interesting but sad origin to Twist, but because it was one of the first moments where a special talent could affect the pony who earned it, which, sure, is something that we saw later in the show, but let's not forget that it all began with Twist. Maybe. Probably. But the biggest theory that Twist had was that she was dead. And while this theory sounds like it came out straight off a dark fic, it was surprisingly the most popular theory Twist had. And if you're wondering of why, this was because Twist mysteriously disappeared from the show in season 3. And this was weird because at the time, Twist wasn't a hated character anymore, and a lot of the fans who liked her feared that she was removed from the show completely, which, believe it or not, was a real fear at the time, as at the same time another more well-known pony got removed. But fortunately, Twist would get back into the show in season 4, where she would stay until the very end, and to this day I have no idea why Twist left the show in season 3. Maybe it was because of the selection of episodes, or maybe it was something else. And you would expect Twist's story to end here, but no, because Twist would get one last time to shine in 2017, but not in the show, or comics, or even in the game, but rather in the MLP books. In this story, Ponyville Mysteries, the tale of the Timber Wolf, where Twist not only got an important role in the story, but this book introduced a new concept to MLP, which was wereponies. Yep, you heard that right, ponies that can transform into Timberwolves, and sadly, Twist would get transformed into one. With her terrorizing Sugarcube corner because of her cravings of candies and sweets, and the Crusaders beginning to investigate the recent break-ins, where they discovered that it might not be a pony, but rather a Timberwolf. And later they get a tip from a pony that it might be a werepony, but the Crusaders are skeptical, so they go to Sakura's hut to ask her if it's possible for a pony to transform into a Timberwolf. Where Sakura says that yes, it's possible, but only if magic is strong enough, and warns them that if the werepony is not cured in time, the pony may stay a Timberwolf forever. And with this, Sakura makes the Crusaders an antidote for the werepony, where she explains that the only thing that they need to do is to mix a piece of the pony with the antidote and feed it to the Timberwolf. With this, the Crusaders go to the Everfree Forest to try and find the Timberwolf, with them leaving a trail of candy to lure it in, but they get angry and, surprised, that it's not the Timberwolf who's eating the bait, but rather Twist. And it's in here where the Crusaders discover that Twist is the werepony, with the only thing that Twist can do is to tell them to stay back before she transforms. But just before Twist's transformation is completed, one of the Crusaders snacks a piece of her mane and mixes it with the potion and pours it into a giant peppermint. But before the Crusaders can give the antidote to Twist, the main six arrive and they trap her, and the only thing that the Crusaders can do now is to try and reason with the main six, but they have no luck. And the more time passes, the more savage Twist gets. But eventually Sweetabelle gets the courage to take the peppermint and charge at the Timberwolf, shoving it into its mouth, and with this, Twist is finally cured and everything goes back to normal. Do I even need to explain why this story is awesome? Not only because of the concept, which is one that is both intriguing and kinda scary, but also to the role that Twist plays, which was just awesome. But the question is, how did Twist become a werepony? Well, this was because she ate an enchanted piece of candy cane which gave her the ability to transform into a Timberwolf. which is something that is so awesome as an idea, and it's kinda sad that this concept wasn't explored more in the show. Which is something that can also be said for Twist. While Twist is not that popular of a character, it's incredibly interesting how far she has come, from a pony that was hated to one that eventually got her fans and gave us one of the most metal moments in the entirety of G4. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on Twist, and is there any other background pony that didn't deserve the hate? Leave it down in the comments. And a huge thanks to Toasty C for this incredible piece of fan art that I just adore. Thank you so much, wow, it's so incredible, thank you. And as always, remember to like the video if you enjoyed it and consider subscribing for more MLP videos like this one. And remember to take care guys, and I'll see you in the next video.